Conservative MP Paul Bristow, who is calling for post office bosses to hand back their bonuses. Thanks for joining us, Paul. Well, we were just covering that with that poor sub-postmaster, former sub-postmaster Safi in there. I think it's a given that they should hand back their bonuses, but to just sort of move it on slightly, we'll talk about that in a minute, but if they knew that they were prosecuting these sub-postmasters, if someone knew, in order to cover up for glitches or for the problems in the Horizon computer system, someone somewhere knew that, because we know they kept that a secret when these cases first went to court, then a serious crime was committed, and people need to face the wrath of the law, don't they?
Well, look, I agree with you, and just reflecting on that poor man who you interviewed before, I feel absolutely dreadfully for him and his family. And just to hear that story, if that was done deliberately in the way that you outlined, of course criminal proceedings should follow, and hopefully that's what this inquiry will reveal. Because quite frankly, we've far too much devastation has occurred as a result of this whole horrible episode. Too many lives have been lost, too many homes have been repossessed, too many lives have been destroyed. And as I say, that poor man, I mean, it was a really heart-wrenching story, wasn't it?
Yeah, Paul, I am very happy that you are saying that leaders of the post office in charge at the time must hand back their bonuses. Do we need to broaden this out to other executives? Because we've got people running banks who have been given performance-related bonuses, who have failed, abrogated their duties. We have people running water boards who have done exactly the same, polluted our rivers, and yet walk away with millions of pounds in bonuses. Surely bonuses are performance-related and not just handed out to anybody because they've got a little bit of power.
Well, Alex, I think you make the point very well. This bonus to Paula Vennells was based upon the financial performance in part of the post office. And if that financial performance was improved by taking missing money from sub-post office masters, then surely that's absolutely wrong. And if the taxpayer is going to be quite rightly liable for funding this compensation, I think a modest contribution from Paula Vennells and other post office executives would be the right way to start. But on the broader point, I absolutely believe that those in that form of public life, which are then awarded bonuses on performance, if that organisation hasn't performed very well, then, and especially if they're a public serving, public-facing organisation, well, I think there's a very strong argument for that money to be paid back.
Talking about not performing very well, Paul, this isn't about party political politics. This isn't about scoring points against your rivals in the Commons. But Sir Ed Davey was the Post Office Minister at the time of this scandal. Alan Bates of Mr Bates versus the Post Office fame requested a meeting with him, said Ed Davey said no, can't see any useful purpose for that. And then we just heard that Sathian, that poor man we just interviewed, happened to be a constituent of Sir Ed Davey, begged him for a meeting, was 3 times told to get lost. Now, as an MP, what do you think about that? Because I think that is an abrogation of duty for someone who's supposed to represent his constituents.
But you're absolutely right, Kevin. I don't want to make any party political points as a result of this. You don't suddenly become a person who wants to take money from sub-post office masters because you're a Liberal Democrat or anything like that. It just proves that I think that Sir Ed Davey wasn't a very good minister. And if Safian's account is accurate, which I've got no reason to believe it's not, but his story was horrific, then it suggests that he's not a very good member of Parliament either. And I hope his constituents reflect that at the next election. I certainly think I've got no doubt in my mind he will go as a leader of the Liberal Democrats. The Liberal Democrats can't continue with Sir Ed Davey as their prime ministerial candidate, if you like, because every time he walks out, he's going to get quite rightly asked questions about this, and the public will be disgusted with him and the way that he seemed to ignore these people who all they really wanted was a hearing. And if he'd met Mr Bates, if he'd at the outset, if he'd listened to those post office masters, then maybe things would have been very, very different. I think he's got a lot of questions to answer, and simply being silent, avoiding PMQs, I mean, that can't be the way forward, can it?
It was cowardly. Let's call it what it is. Paul, very, very briefly, even if Paula Vennells handed back her bonuses, it wouldn't even be a drop in the ocean in terms of the huge financial toll paying back these sub-postmasters and mistresses is going to have on the public purse. It's we, the taxpayer, having to foot this bill. Is that right? Who should be picking up the tab?
Well, I hope that this inquiry will reveal that Fujitsu, and I'm sure it will, that Fujitsu have a great deal of liability here, and I hope that they will be made to pay back some of this money as well. It can't be right, as you say, Alex, that it falls solely on the taxpayer. But do you know something? I think a contribution from Paula Vennells would be very, very welcome from the Treasury, and I think it would be a good start, don't you?
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Thank you very much, Paul Bristow, Conservative MP there.